Not to mention AI and everything else coming down our pike. Hey, good morning. It is Thursday. Jack, Heath, J-Dog on the boards. This New Hampshire, but it's truly good morning, New England. Good morning up into Portland, Maine. Good morning nationally. Thousands streaming. Hey, Alexa. Hey, Google. Any smart device. Play the pulse of NH 9 to noon. Hope you're having a good start to your Thursday. Remember, a shorter week. We're already looking at Friday tomorrow. Today will be on the more cloudy, showery side, but then things get real nice tomorrow. Sunshine right into the weekend. So another good looking weekend as we get going, whatever you're doing. A lot of people out and about. I heard some numbers earlier on the main turnpike, just how many people. It was 1.6 million people on the road in and out of Maine over the Memorial Day period. So a lot of people traveling this weekend. Looks like a beautiful weekend. Got a packed show for you. J-Doc on the boards before we get him and going this morning. There was a meeting last night, and the federal energy folks on the ocean side, Bureau of something, Ocean Energy Management, whatever, the folks that want to put in a bunch of floating windmills, I call them environmental landmines, in the Gulf of Maine, had a meeting last night. And guess what? The people who make a living out there, the fishermen showed up. We're going to hear from Captain Jerry Lehman in just a little bit. He was there last night. He's been an outspoken critic of this process and project or proposal. Isn't it amazing? If you haven't heard about it, why is that? When they started talking about the Northern Pass to bring hydro down from, the Quebec hydro down. Well, you heard about it. You heard about nothing on this, right? We're talking the Gulf of Maine, right off New Hampshire. So we're going to hear from Jerry Lehman, his concerns and what it would do to the fishermen, the fishing industry, their ability to make a living, the species, things like whales, humpback whales, right whales, pilot whales, tuna, all the stuff that we kind of like, as well as locally harvested seafood in New Hampshire, Maine. Why this is sort of a crazy idea. We'll come back to that. Jury continues to deliberate in the Trump hush money trial. We'll have more on that. Our own Rory O'Neill. That's happening this morning as we get going. Also, we're going to tell you about a big anniversary. And J-Dog, you're more familiar. Good morning, by the way. How are you? He's a little busy over there. Yeah, what are you doing? You busy doing news? Okay. Hey, but real quickly, you're familiar with this, the folks from give me a SPCA. They're having their 10th anniversary this weekend, right? You've heard about this group? Now, where's the Pope Memorial? Is that Capital Region? We're going to hear from Lillian Lavery. J-Dog, I had it wrong. Lavery, like Rod Laver with an R, with a Y at the end. The director of outreach. A lot of people don't remember Rod Laver. Great tennis player, Australian. Outreach and development at Pope Memorial SPCA. We have a big Saturday, 10:30 in the morning, 10th anniversary of the shelter, and why they love what they do. So that's coming up. We got a pack show for you. I don't know what's going on. I just have been hearing little tidbits. You heard in our national news, Judge Alito, Supreme Court Justice, some flags, some January 6th hanging upside down outside his home. Some in Congress want to have him recuse himself. I don't know frankly, with all the stuff going on, I am 10,000 feet up in the air on this one. You probably know more about it than me. So Alito has written a letter, I guess, to those asking him to recuse himself on any cases related to January 6th. No, not going to do that. My wife had put these up. I didn't even know about it. It was to do with a neighborhood feud going on. I asked her to take them down. They were eventually. But someone pointed something out to me this morning. Remember the House of Cards series with Kevin Spacey, House of Cards? Wasn't like the upside down flag right on the House of Cards Netflix series, right on the House of Cards Netflix series open? I don't know why no one's pointing that. I'm just curious. It's a question. All right. Some of the other stories going on, it's interesting. I heard coming in or this morning in the news, Mike Pomp, I believe, no, actually, I'm sorry. It was ABC News as we went into the show this morning or before the show. Major retailers are now slashing prices. You heard this, like Walgreens, places you go to buy stuff where everything's been so expensive. One thing I never understood about a year ago, because I don't really, again, I said yesterday in the show and some commentaries. I get older. I believe. I mean, I believe more in conspiracy theories than I used to. I'll admit that. I heard one of the stories earlier. When people get older, they have less patience. They get snappy. But one change that's happened to me is not that per se. It's that well, I've never been too patient. I just believe more in contrarian. I don't believe in coincidences as I get older, and I'm more of a conspiracy theorist than I used to be because I wasn't like that when I was younger. I was more optimistic. But when retailers now, like Walgreens and others, slashing prices, a year or so ago, I was talking about this because inflation. And by the way, I'll come back to this in a minute. Who created inflation? It did not come out of thin air, folks. Inflation didn't just pop up like a weed in your garden. Okay, it was grown by politicians in Washington spending trillions and trillions of dollars too quickly, chasing too few goods in the economy. That's what started inflation. It's very simple. And politicians, it's amazing. If you went down to Congress or even, no offense, the current president, and you said, can you please tell me, Senator, what's the definition, the simple economic definition of inflation? And then look at your clock, or look at your watch. I got a one of these not a G-Shock, but something like that. Watch. Put on your timer. Put the ticker. Senator, can you tell me, please, get a minute, no pressure, the definition of inflation, and then hit start on your timekeeper. Tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. They couldn't tell you. They have no idea. Oh, that's when things cost too much. No. What's the definition? They won't even tell you. Too much money chasing too few goods all at once, and that's what we started. But the point is, about a year or so ago, I remember going to speaking of Walgreens, CVS, get basic toothpaste. Now I get overwhelmed a little bit sometimes when I shop. I admit it. Like when you're looking at I saw this about Nick Saban. I read about this when he retired, the Alabama football legend, and he started doing basic chores around the house again because he was always looking at film and coaching. And his smarter, prettier, better half would send him to the store with a grocery list, and he'd text her. This is true. I'm looking at getting mayonnaise and ketchup. There's like 14 different kinds. What kind do you guys want? I'm in the toothpaste aisle. There's a whole row of toothpaste. What do you want? I don't know what to get. And I'm like that. So about a year ago, you go get a thing of like just Crest toothpaste, just like basic, good for the gums Crest toothpaste. And it was like $7 for this little tube. I'm like, you're kidding me. You're kidding me. So anyway, the funny thing about retailers slashing prices now to get cash-strapped consumers back in their stores, we're going to start cutting prices, tells you they can. They can start slashing prices to get the dumb consumer back who's been cash-strapped from inflation that politicians burned. The retailers are slashing prices to get cash-strapped consumers back in to start spending money because of inflation that the politicians created. Remember I said about a year or two ago, the funny thing about inflation in our economy and politicians in Washington, it's a perfect storm. The Federal Reserve doesn't know what to do, so they raised the only tool in their box when inflation was worse than 50 years. They just raised interest rates from 3% to more than 7% for a fixed 30-year mortgage. But of course, the bank rates, everything goes up. It spills downhill. Everything goes up. It spills downhill. So they raise all these rates to cut off consumer spending. That's why retailers are now slashing prices, by the way. I'm just connecting the dots for you. They raise rates to cut off consumer spending, to slow down consumer spending. And that's why now retailers are trying to get consumers back. And I said to you, when the economy worsens towards this fall, which it's going to slow down. And the Fed doesn't lower interest rates, even though they said they were. When the economy actually does slow down and consumers stop spending because they don't have any blanket money left to spend because everything's too blank expensive, the Federal Reserve and the policymakers are going to start blaming the consumer for not spending more. I'm telling you, that's how it works. They shut off the spigots. They make your credit card rates, your interest rates, your mortgage rates so expensive to choke spending, to try and cut the flames of inflation down. That's the only, like a gas stove, that's the only down they got is to raise rates. That's the only tool in their box. And then when things start going into the R word or recessionary water in the economy, they start yelling at the consumers for, well, if they just spent more, if consumers just started spending more, we wouldn't have a slowdown. So either way, we're screwed. We're the ones that get blamed. It's just kind of funny how it works. Hey, there was a big commentary, 603-228-2080. Reminder, go to our Pulse of an H sites. Nominate a veteran and your wife today to win a brand new hot tub. We're taking nominations right through June 9th with our friends at Great Bay Spa and Sauna, Jamie and the team there. So go there, nominate a veteran today. And we got another week or so of doing that. Looking forward to giving away that sauna to a veteran. Just put in the field the veteran's name, contact, their story, and why they could benefit medicinally from the hydrotherapy of a brand new state of the art hot tub. Coming up, there was a meeting last night. Is it a good idea to put a bunch of floating windmills in the Gulf of Maine? Ask the whales. Back with the fishermen who were at that meeting last night in a moment. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play The Pulse of an Age. All right, we are back. We are back, and we appreciate our friends at Auto Fair for our New Hampshire State Police segment each week. We'll catch them next Thursday. Hey, I want to bring in someone who was on my show last Friday when we were live in Portsmouth at Gino's Chowder and sandwich shop right down on the water. Captain Jerry Lehman. He's a professional. Easiest way to put it, professional fisherman. Makes his living and his livelihood out on the seas, our beautiful ocean off our coast of New Hampshire, Maine, and New England. He's also heads up a group of New England fishermen. Captain Jerry joins us back. Good morning, New Hampshire, the pulse of an H. Captain Jerry, thanks for being back on the show. Well, you know more of the facts than me, and I'm not going to be verbose. I want you to kind of share. You went to the meeting last night in Portsmouth. You can tell us the who, what, when, where. But from a layman's point of view, Captain, there's a federal part of our government that is proposing for the first time ever these mammoth floating windmills in the Gulf of Maine. What I do know about the Gulf of Maine is probably one of the richest, most beautiful natural habitats for fishing and species, and people make a living and enjoy the Gulf of Maine right off of New Hampshire, right up to the Canadian coast. Um, and you, as fishermen who make a living out there for generations, are very concerned about this. And most of the people in the public that I talk to, including like state office holders and leaders, they've never even heard of this. So, Captain, you went to the meeting. What did you say there? Tell us who was there. Tell us about this proposal as if no one's ever heard about it and why you think it's terrible. Why would they offer a compensation package if it's going to be good for fishing and everything else? So why would they do this, and why would they your generations politicians when they run for office want to kiss the fisherman's ring? They go down to the piers. Hey, I'm running for the Senate. I want your support. I'm going to come back to that. And now here you are, probably being put out of business. No one knows about this. And what about the species? What about a beautiful humpback whale, a right whale, which is endangered, a tuna? What's going to happen when these floating windmills discharge boiling hot chlorinated water into the water? Can this be stopped? Okay. Why do I Captain Jerry, by the way, Jerry Lehman, and he'll tell you the website and where you can learn more. I think one of the best ones is NewEnglandFisherman.org or anyfisherman.org, I believe, right, Captain? Captain, let me ask you a question. Why do I smell money behind this versus green anything? Why do I just smell a bunch of lobbying money behind this? That's my gut. Just getting right, cutting right to the chase. Let me tell you how this works, Captain. I have a few moments if you do. Do you have a few more moments? I have a brother-in-law up near Ellsworth, Maine. He took me up on the three wheelers in on an old track to where they put these fixed, huge wind turbines up on a stretch of land up there. They convinced all the locals it would be good for energy. They greased the local opposition. They with money. They paid like lobbying special interests, so everyone turned the other way. When these things break, to your point, and malfunction, no one comes to fix them. No one's been back. So let me tell you why this is a racket. The federal government hides under the green energy. This is good. And then the lobbyists of the windmill industry grease all the politicians and through special interest money, right? And then they go ahead and put these projects in, and no one shows up to fix them. And 85% of it is paid by you and me through huge multi-billion-dollar subsidies. That's how this works. This is all about money. It's not about doing anything good for a humpback whale. Right. Right. Well, and the other thing is, what's funny? They'll say, "Oh, this is better than fossil fuel or anything else." Okay. So what's going to happen is we're going to end up buying haddock and scallops and shrimp from like another part of the world in China that has to be tanked over with diesel, with fossil fuel or flown in a jet versus caught off our shore and brought in that afternoon to places like Geno's or Sanders Fish Market or Portland to buy your haddock for the evening. So you're going to buy foreign harvested stuff that is flown here, and these morons tell us it's good for the environment. Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, I guess the question is I tend to be a little bit of a truth seeker on things that I smell something that doesn't pass the smell test. So, Captain Jerry Leamy, before I let you go, and thank you for speaking up. Where was the meeting last night? In Portsmouth. Okay. Okay. Uh, okay. Now, how many people roughly were there last night? Under 100? Okay. So, my last question is New Hampshire's represented one of the long serving and have a good relationship, U.S. Senator Jean Shaheen. Family, is from the seacoast. She knows the deal here. She's been in the Senate and she's been there a while. There's people like Senator Collins in Maine. And I guess my question is, have they weighed in on this? Because they seem to care about the fishermen when they run for office. They seem to have your back. They care about the environment. Have you met with any of these people? Have you met with any of these, like Senator Hassan or Shaheen's office? Because they might have the clout to slow roll this thing till we know more. Do they? Doesn't everyone love whales or tuna? I mean, doesn't everyone love seeing a whale out in the ocean? Doesn't everyone want to protect that, or is it? If I lost my mind, if is that does that not matter? And they're going to tell you with these cables and this discharge that it's not going to affect the whale's migration, or they do the sonar mapping. It screws up their sense of where they are. The whales will start beaching, or we'll find. Does anyone give a damn? I thought whales were really beautiful and sacred and precious. Or am I on another planet, Captain? Oh, let's go to Venice Beach this summer, dear, or Hampton. And why are there two or three humpback whales over here like decaying on the beach? What's going on here? All right, Captain. Captain Jerry Lehman again, the best website. And you represent New England fishermen who make livings for generations, and you care about the ocean and the species, correct? And I didn't run for the U.S. Senate, but if you were under deposition, I'd be saying, just Captain, how many years you been out there? Okay, did anyone talk to you before this crazy idea was concocted to ask your expert opinion what the impact would be on our habitat, the ocean, and the species, and your livelihood? Did anyone reach out and say, Captain, what do you think of this? Okay. Well, thank you for fighting for our environment, the whales, your fishermen, and this has got to stop. This is stupid. Some things are just stupid. All right, thank you, Captain. Hey, let me know how your meetings go. Hey, hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Jack Heath. Good morning, New Hampshire. Good morning, Maine. Good morning, nationally. Thousands. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back in a few. You know, I think one of the frustrating things that I see about politics today is everything is so politicized, and then people lose all common sense, and the powers to be, want you to be overwhelmed, uh, divided, conquered, and quiet. I'm just telling you the reality. Don't speak up. Don't. One of the funny things when I was in, like, I guess grade school, junior, before like high school, maybe even high school, is I just always had this knack. And if adults were sitting around and debating and arguing something, I would just ask that question. I would just raise the question. I'm that one in the room that would just raise the question that no one wanted raised. Like I remember during the so-called Great Recession of 2008, the whole thing was built around greed in the mortgage industry. And everyone looked the other way for years when your neighbor all of a sudden was originating home loans at night, after working in a whatever they did all day. And then at night you go over and your neighbor had become a loan originator. Sit in the kitchen, have a little glass of Chardonnay and borrow $400,000 on an adjustable mortgage. And Lehman Brothers and all these fat cats in New York City were just making billions of dollars, and people were just the adjustable mortgage. And then no one in the room asked, no one in the room in the boardroom asked, "Hey, I got a question." Yeah, Jack in the back of the room, go ahead. What happens when people can't afford the adjustable mortgage when it adjusts up? What happens when their adjustable mortgage goes from 2,800 a month to 5,200 a month? Jack, just don't ask questions like that. Why would you bring that up right now? You know how much money we're making here at Lehman Brothers? You know how much money we're making? Just be quiet. And then look what happened. How many things failed? so so under that commonsensical category, the sad thing in politics, everything is so politicized. You can't raise something because someone's in our society today. No one's ever wrong. You either agree with me or the name calling starts, and people have no right to an opinion, whether it's on an abortion question. I mean, let me just jump into what you're going to hear a lot this fall, because I'm going to do it. I don't talk a lot on this show about abortion rights, an abortion issue, and I'm not sitting here sort of doing the one side or the other. Let me just ask you a question. If you talk to anyone who has a strong opinion on this, and many, many, many people do, they do, and I respect that. I do. But New Hampshire has a law that no one talks about. If this, I mean, again, the commonsensical gene, if this is now a state issue, which is what the Supreme Court ruled, and New Hampshire has a law, why don't we talk about what the law really is? Why all the emotion? Why all the rhetoric? Let's just look at New Hampshire's current law. If you care about abortion rights. And do you know that for the first 6 full months of a pregnancy? Last time I checked, pregnancies can be earlier, but they're usually about 9 months. Isn't that the standard test of time, or has that changed too? So for the first 6 months, there's no restrictions in New Hampshire. So then a commonsensical statement would be there's really no ban on abortion here, but all the rhetoric is there's a ban on abortion. The only restrictions under the current law are in the last 3 months. Now, my point wasn't to talk about abortion rights right now. My point is a logical, respectful, civic point that on that issue, if you're a parent or an adult in a room and you're talking about this and someone says hypothetically, well, abortions are banned in New Hampshire. And you as an intelligent, reasonable person say, well, that's not really true. That other person doesn't want to hear that. And they start yelling at you, and you have no right to an opinion, even if your opinion is factual. Like, there's actually no ban through 6 months, 2/3 of the pregnancy. It's only in the last 3 months, 8, 9 months, 7, 8, 9 months. They'll start yelling at you. And it's true on other issues. It's gotten wacko. So let's just go back to this fishing situation. So let me boil this down like barroom conversation for you. No one even knows that they're going to be doing federal bidding for ocean permits and land in the Gulf of Maine off in New Hampshire for floating, huge, enormous floating windmills. Problem number one, why don't we know about it ahead of time? Why is this popping up now? Why am I the one bringing it up? Well, I thank Francesca, who owns Gino's in Portsmouth, about a month ago, asked me if I heard about this. I looked at her, I go, what are you talking about? Problem number one, no one knew about it. Why is that? Because no one wants you to know about it. They want to get so far down the road before they put the stop sign in. Too late. Sorry. Had your chance. Number two, why would you, under the umbrella of green energy versus like fossil fuel, you're so wound up in the green thing. It's like the abortion debate for a minute. You're so wound up in the green thing that you would think you have a bleeding heart, which is admirable. You would think if you care about green energy, you care about the environment. One would deduce that, right? You care about green. So you're so wrapped up in green energy that you no longer care about the ocean habitat, the people who fish there for generations, the species that live there, and you don't think what the cables and the pollutants from the windmills and the hot water chlorinated and the stuff, the infrastructure underneath. You don't care if a humpback whale swims and gets tangled. You don't care if a tuna gets caught up and dies. You don't care if an endangered right whale dies, and yet you're under the umbrella of caring. We should, no matter what our beliefs in life, they could even be religious. We should always have the ability to sit down and have an open mind. When the mind shuts, when the door slams shut on an open mind, like learn something new each day, you thought you had an opinion until you knew this. A big person, a magnanimous individual, an adult would have an ability to say, you know what? I thought this, and now that I've been further educated, I no longer think that. That is big. That is smart. That is wisdom. You're not always right. I'm not always right. I'll be the first to say, get that one wrong. I screwed up. I'm sorry. That's kind of like a good way to go in life. We will never know everything, nor should we. The smartest person in the room can be wrong. Elon Musk is a pretty bright dude. He's got a lot of billions and billions of dollars to maybe show that he's a little smart, but he's not right about everything. No one's perfect. So we have a situation here where let's just put on one side of the paper what we can agree on. You want green energy sources? Let's talk about that. No one doesn't. Let's talk about a combination of energy that will accomplish the goal. But can we agree that the Gulf of Maine is a precious habitat, our ocean? It is the most wonderful stretch of fishing and harvesting and reproduction and health in the world. I've been out to Jeffrey's Ledge off New Hampshire, 17 miles out, huge rock formation. There's tuna down there. I was out with my buddy Andy, Captain Andy Fishbein on his boat once, and we had lines down there about 200 feet trying to catch haddock in the fall when it was legal and a little chilly. And all of a sudden, a right whale surfaced. We were the only ones out there. It was like glass. It was one of those warmer fall days, and a right whale surfaced about, I don't know, 10, 15 boat lengths away. The most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I said, Captain, what the heck is that? That's not a humpback. He goes, oh, that's a right whale. There's only a few hundred of them left in the world. And it was at Jeffrey's Ledge. So you want to put a floating windmill off Jeffrey's Ledge, or 20 of them, and that whale gets snared, and you say you care about the environment? Open up your mind. There's money pushing this, and that's why you don't know about it. Real quickly, Bill in Durham, good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of Nature on the show. out in the ocean, floating around. Hey, look at you know what? I know you have an engine. You've called before. You have an engineering background on energy, and I appreciate it, Bill and Durham. Before I let you go, but my opposition is these politicians care about the men and women who make a living out there. Why take away their livelihood? Number two, I care about the species, and if it's bad for the ocean and the fish in it, it's bad. Period. There's other ways to achieve what you're trying. But you know how they do it. You're correct. What they do is they do over subsidize, so don't worry about it making costs. We're gonna pour so much taxpayer money into this that you won't care. And people are gonna get rich, but it's not the fishermen and it's not the people who eat the fish from there. It's gonna be someone in China. Bill, I gotta run. Thank you. Yep. All right. So bad idea. Let's stop it in its tracks. Hey Google, hey Alexa, play the Pulse of an Age. Back enough you. All right, welcome back. J Dog, got a note from DK on our marketing and promotions team, Daniel, DK, we call him. And we got to turn up the heat because we only have a few days left. So we want right now to get 10 entries. This is my goal right now. No cost to you. 10 entries, J Dog. I know it takes some time, but think about making not just a day or month or a year of a veteran. Could be a neighbor in your neighborhood. You know who served. Just go to our Pulse of an Age sites now, please. Pulse of NH. J Dog, how easy is this? You'll see it right. Hot Tubs for Heroes. Click on it, right? Just click. Hot tubs. Yeah. So it's like members of the Priory out there. I love the people like Marga Culp, people who know people at the Elks in Portsmouth where they support veterans. Other people that we know out there on the veteran side. Go nominate someone. Go on that site, make a nomination of a veteran you know served who could benefit. It could be someone who's older and has gotten arthritis. It could benefit from a brand new state of the art hot tub. We're talking. I don't want to put a price on this, but it is not rinky dink. These are state of the art, beautiful, beautiful. They sort of change the nature of someone's home where they put it out back or on the porch or in the yard. These are beautiful hot tubs with all the electronics, all the computer, all the technology, and the water propulsion, the jets in those things. I mean, if you have a bad back, a bad neck, and veterans have a lot of wear and tear, so we're trying to support a veteran through this with our friends Great Bay Spa and Sauna, Jamie and the team in Portsmouth. So nominate a veteran. Easy to do. All you got to do is go there, nominate, say, my name is so I'm nominating, being hypothetical, um, uh, you know, Jim Smith, Jane Smith. They were a veteran. They served. They do have some hip and back issues that I think might be from service. This would be a great way to thank them for their service. That's all you got to do and some contact, like a phone number and email. That's all you got to do. Go nominate a veteran now, please. No money. In the past, we've asked you to raise money for veteran support. You've actually written checks or our Make 12 Hours Count. Tens of thousands of dollars we raised one day for Veterans Count, part of Easter Seals. This is a way to help a veteran, one veteran in your life. What a wonderful opportunity. And then you'll go by and see them and see how much they benefit and how much they love their wonderful hot tub in addition. Free to them, by the way. And I was there a few years ago at Great Bay Spa and Sauna in Portsmouth with Jamie when a Army veteran came in with his wife. I forget where they live, but was relatively younger. I don't think he was maybe late. He was probably about 40, maybe 38, and he had done a lot of jumping. He was in the I don't know if it was 82nd Airborne, but he was a jumper for the in the Army, and he had a lot of jumps in him, and he was already getting some compression, some hip and back and knee issues, and he was the one we picked, and he went in and picked out I was there. It was wonderful. He couldn't believe it. He was like, I can actually pick between this one and that one and that one. And Jamie's like, yep, you served. You're the one. Yep, go pick it. Then they brought it into his home, and he and his wife, it was so wonderful to watch them talk about where they were going to put it. She wanted to put it here. He wanted to put it there. And he just couldn't believe it. He's looking at this thing. They take the cover off and he's looking at it. It's like a pool, and it's just got all the stuff and bells and whistles. So go to, please, the Pulse of NH. Nominate a veteran in your life today, to get one of these beautiful new hot tubs, the Pulse of an H. We want to get 10 entries right now, 10 entries. Make a couple. If you know a couple, what the heck? Someone's going to pick one. I don't know if it's me. I think it might be Jamie and the team at Great Bay Spa and Sauna, but we want to get 10, and I'm going to do it in the next hour. All right, coming up, we're going to tell you about an animal protection shelter in Concord. Big anniversary, Saturday, their 10th. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H.